Welcome back to the channel, guys. So the day we've all been waiting for, well, maybe some of you, but I've been waiting for it, and that is to take a look at the new Bitt Boy. Everything old is Retrolution. Yeah, Retrolution, that's what it is. I don't know what the frick that means, but here we go. I'm always on the lookout for neat little emulation handheld devices, and this one has been getting some really good reviews over the past few months, and I decided, you know what, this thing is only 40 bucks. Why not just dig into it and test it out? So that's what we're doing today, giving you guys my impressions on this thing, and you may be surprised, you know what I'm saying? But here we go. So this is the box, obviously, right? The box explains, supports external micro SD card, does not come with a micro SD card. It requires one to be able to use this. Does not come with any preloaded games. The previous version of the Bitt Boy did, but it looked like junk to me, so I was never interested. It looked like one of those NES on a chip type 150 in one cartridge type things, and I just didn't want to bother with it. There's so many of them out there, there was no point. But this one piqued my interest because you could add what you want. So it supports NES, Famicom, Game Boy Color, and Game Boy. Pretty awesome. Does support headphones, has a headphone jack, save games, so save states, 2.4-inch IPS screen, full screen and original resolution display. So there are some aspect ratio adjustments and settings in the system. Screen brightness adjustment as well. 700 milliamp hour rechargeable lithium ion battery. The battery life has 2 to 3 hours of playtime. So I guess very similar to like a Sega Game Gear back in the day. You're gonna be charging this bad boy if you're using it. TV output, not HDMI, composite. So let's get that out of here. So here she is. This is what comes in the box. You might be wondering, why do I have these other handhelds off in the distance here? Well, I'm gonna show you a little size comparison in a minute, because this damn thing is tiny. That is for sure. But here she is in all its glory. Little D-pad here, A and B button, and then turbo A and B button, but they also work for setting the volume and the brightness. You would hold select and use that, or these. We'll take a look at that in game in a moment. Your select and start. Bottom, you have your little charge port for your micro USB, your headphone jack, or for your composite output. On the back, this thing is a little bit of a bitch to open, but there we go. We have our 700 milliamp hour battery. Seems like one that they use in all these cheap-ass devices, so hey, if you ever need to replace it, there you go. You can easily replace that. Held together with 6, I believe, little tiny-ass Phillips head screws. On the top, there's our power switch and our slot for our micro SD card. The other things you get is this 3.5 millimeter auxiliary jack for composite to display on your TV. I will show you some footage of that in a moment using the retro tank, but just be forewarned, it looks like ass. I mean, it's composite, it's not going to look that great anyway. You also get a little charging cable. I got a white one. I don't know if they ever ship different colors, but there we go. And then an instruction user manual, more just a napkin, it seems. Gives you some basic information, doesn't really give you everything you need to know. If you're like a novice user of emulation type devices, this probably isn't going to be very helpful to you. There's actually some things it doesn't explain at all, like how to display it on your TV, because you have to use some in-game options for that. But let's go ahead and show a comparison real quick before we boot this up. But there's the original Game Boy next to the new Bitt Boy. You see, quite a bit slim there. Little tiny guy. The Game Boy Color, which displays both Game Boy and Game Boy Color games. Pretty nice. And then next to a Game Bueno Color. Both very tiny. An Ardu Boy, which obviously the Ardu Boy is going to be extremely tiny. And then an original Game Bueno. So there you go, little comparisons. I mean, why not, right? So if you turn this on without a micro SD card in, it'll just say some kind of MIU emulation thing. Doesn't really do anything. But there we go. We popped in our card. I already put my games on here. But the one thing you have to note is your game files cannot be zipped. It just has to be the ROMs. So keep that in mind. I just sorted them, put them in the Game Boy folder, a Game Boy Color folder, and NES folder. They just have to be the ROMs in there, and that's it. Now, from the little bit of time I've had playing with this, the screen doesn't look too bad. The viewing angle for me, I mean, that might not reflect too well on camera, but the viewing angle is really good in my opinion. A lot of times they use these cheap displays, and the second you turn it just a millimeter out of your eyesight, the screen just disappears pretty much, or you just can't see anything. With this, I don't get that. It's actually a fairly decent quality screen. You might be getting some glare from a couple of my lights. I did turn off the overhead lights so I don't get too much glare, but the screen does not look bad. The buttons do not feel bad. This thing is tiny, so you know, it might take a little getting used to, but here we go. The only things we could play on here is NES or Famicom, Game Boy, and Game Boy Color. Now let's go ahead and test out a couple games before I show you the captured footage. Let me see here. And then see, when you have like these long titles, I don't know if you can see this, but like all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games, you have to wait for them to scroll if you don't know which ones they are. So, I mean, you could always rename your ROMs to make it a little easier, I guess, to tell what game it is you're selecting. But we'll just go ahead and get into one. I'll just press start on that. I don't even know what game that was, but there we go. No, Tournament Fighter. Great. So before we jump into that, this is the volume. Whoa. The volume, you hold select and you use the A and B to go up and down. And the speaker is very loud. Like, let me put it all the way up. It is loud. Then you can mess with the brightness with the turbo buttons with the select button held down. So you can get that to your liking. Now, a game like this doesn't scroll too much from what I remember. So it's not going to look too bad, I think. But a lot of the games, like old school, like Super Mario Brothers, any of the games across any of these systems, there's some really bad screen tearing, some sync issues, and it's rather unfortunate because it makes a lot of these games unplayable for me. But these other ones where they're slow moving or there's not that much scrolling going on, it's not a huge issue. Like this one, I mean, up close, I'm not really seeing too much of an issue with that. Now, the one thing you can do is this R button here. Short press gets you into a settings screen. You have save states, your mode for the resolution or the aspect ratio, default or full. So you can change that however you want. And then display. This right here is saying LCD because we're playing on this screen, but if you have it hooked to your TV, you would have to select TV. So just keep that in mind. When I first tried it on my TV, I thought something was wrong, but there wasn't anything wrong. It was just, I had to find that setting. So there we go. Let's get out of this game. You hold the R button long press, and it'll zoom you out. So let's find another game, a Game Boy game. Like this game, Buster Brothers, or Buster Bros, however you want to say it. This game looks really good on this display, but again, it's a game that doesn't have much scrolling going on. Actually, it doesn't have any scrolling going on. I mean, what am I talking about? But, so the screen tearing issues that I'm talking about, it's not going to be as apparent. Oh man, I love this game. So a game like this, very playable and looks really good on this display. The buttons work well, everything feels good. Now, there are some games that I've found some issues, and I need to show you guys what I'm saying with the the screen tearing, and it is noticeable on this LCD. It's more so noticeable when you play it on the TV, but it's not making any difference. It's there either way. So let's go to here, Ghosts and Goblins. This is one where I've noticed an issue, I think maybe with this D-pad. The D-pad doesn't feel bad, but in this game, it gets stuck. I get stuck like in a down forward type thing, it seems like. So let's just get into this. And this, I'm hoping you can see the screen tearing, because I can see it and it bothers me. It really does. Like this, it's just immediately, and I'm like a good 1.5 feet away from the screen. I could tell that it's just the emulation, the settings aren't perfect with this emulator. And there you go. I press down and I can't move now. And it does it on both sides. I'm stuck. So it's making me think this D-pad for a game that has like where down registers is something, like you get stuck. I don't know if it's just this game, but I've played this game before and I don't remember that happening. So there you go. Kind of annoying little thing for me. Now, the other thing I want to point out, you want to play your Pokemons, your Legend of Zeldas, you know, all great stuff, but here's my issue. I don't have a tissue for this issue because this might be nitpicky to some, but for me, it's almost a deal breaker because I don't like save states. A game like Legend of Zelda here, it supports save files. You could save your game, and I've saved my game multiple times, but it's not there. It doesn't show because the emulators in the system do not support in-game saves. So any of your role-playing games, your Pokemons, your Legend of Zeldas, Final Fantasies, anything that supports in-game saving, this doesn't save. It just does not. You have to use save states. I'm not a fan of that. Some people are, but I'm not. So here we go. I already saved a game like 5 minutes in. So you could either save or read. So I'm going to go on the file that I saved, hit the A button. We could either save again, read, or delete it. So it is nice that we have those options, but I wish that was in addition to the system actually working fine. And this, if you can't see the screen tearing, I don't know what to tell you. When the screen scrolls, it's pretty bad. It's a little more bearable than a game that's like constantly scrolling, but it's still something that annoys the heck out of me and would just, I wish there was a better option here. Now, let's get out of that. When you play this on a TV with the composite cable, I use the RetroTink 2X to output on my HD TV. And I mean, I know the visuals aren't going to be great. If I plugged it into a CRT, which I have, it looks okay, not amazing. But plugging it into an HD TV, even using the RetroTink, it looks like garbage. The screen tearing, the sync issues, all those things are heavily exaggerated. They're just more visible when you're displaying on a TV, a CRT or an HD TV. You could still see it. It's an emulation issue. It's not a display issue. The display that they use is fairly good. It's just the emulation for me is not great. Is it playable? Yes. Is this going to bother everybody? Hell no, it's not going to bother everybody. It bothers me because I'm on the hunt. I'm trying to find a handheld emulation system that is reasonably priced and can play these old school games. NES, Game Boy Color, Game Boy Advance maybe, but what this system offers is really what I wanted. You know, maybe even Sega Game Gear, Sega Master System, that kind of stuff would be cool. But I'm looking for a handheld where the display is nice and the emulation is good. We're not getting those screen tearing or frame skipping, any of those issues. And unfortunately for me, the new Bitt Boy didn't hit it on the nail for me. It just didn't. You know, it didn't hit the nail on the head. You know, whatever. I'm not good with sayings. You guys know that. Jesus. But it is what it is. I'm not 100% satisfied with this thing. I know some people will be. It's only 40 bucks. It is available on Amazon. I'll have a link in the description if you want to peep it out. I did buy mine off of Amazon. They had like a coupon, got like $5 off or something. I don't know. But Some people enjoy it. For me, it's I'll probably just give it to my 4-year-old, let him play some games. It is what it is. So, hey, really do appreciate you guys hanging out with me. If you guys know of a handheld that meets the criteria I'm looking for, some awesomeness that's a reasonable price, let me know. I want to check it out. But thank you, smash it, make sweet ass love to that notification bell, subscribe if you haven't done so already. With that said, guys, I will catch y'all next time. Peace out, bye-bye, and boom!